Welcome to MEGJC 101, a podcast about the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and our contribution to building a resilient Jamaica. I'm your host, Danny Clark. Come, look it talk. Welcome to another episode of MEGJC 101. As we reflect on Jamaica 62 under the theme One Love to the World, it is crucial to highlight the physical transformations that contribute to our nation's growth. The ministry's Urban Renewal and Development Branch has been at the forefront with projects that have reshaped communities, improved infrastructure, and enhanced public spaces. Today, we're revisiting the ministry's Urban Renewal and Development Branch, which is a vital arm in transforming Jamaica's urban landscapes. Following up on our previous discussion, we'll be checking in on the significant strides they have made. Joining us today is Mr. Sean Jarrett, Community Integration Manager, and we're going to be talking to him today about what the Urban Renewal Development Branch has been up to. But before we begin, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsor.
See ya! Our one country we have, and we have to preserve it for future generation. The government had to feed them part with phase 4 of the ban on single-use plastic. That mean me won't get me lunch in a plastic container, and me so I stop use certain cosmetic personal care items. Boy, big changes, but me want people them to enjoy this country, so me I go hard in a phase 4. Support the ban.
A message from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Welcome back to MEGJC 101. Good day, Sean. How are you doing? Thank you for being here with us today.
Hi, Danny. I'm doing well. It's a nice day today.
Wonderful. So before we begin, can you just remind our listeners of the primary role and functions of the ministry's Urban Renewal and Development Branch?
Okay. The Urban Renewal and Development Branch is all about urban development as it relates to fixing our blighted areas within our cities, but also looking at the softer side, the softer scape. The overarching goal of the Urban Renewal and Development Program is to progressively improve the quality of life of residents and users of urban spaces through the resuscitation and revitalization of the physical, economic, social, environmental, and cultural elements of these spaces, making them attractive, livable, and sustainable. When we talk about urban renewal, we're very people-centric. So we think about the needs of the persons, and we ensure that once we go in, we don't sacrifice their ability to function in the space as they would before. Additionally to that, when we talk about the physical, we're thinking about improving the physical environment. Economically, we try to stimulate the local economy within that space. And socially, we try to improve the infrastructure and the services that are available. And we also think about the environment. We can't leave out the environment when we're doing urban renewal. We have to protect it. And finally, culturally, we try to preserve the cultural effects of that space.
All right, so Sean, I've heard about this UR12. What is that, and what are those?
Okay, the UR12 is the Urban Renewal 12, and the Urban Renewal Branch has based its entire operation on these 12 principles of urban renewal and development. The first one to look at are green corridors. And as you know, green corridors, as the name sounds, would be those areas where you have plants, trees, vegetation, especially alongside roadsides, to basically soften the space. We are also looking at pedestrianizing town centers, upgrading public parks. We look heavily at historic preservation, and a big one that is coming up is creative placemaking. You would see a lot of that, especially in downtown, where we have murals on walls, we have brick roads. So it's basically making the space more friendly for persons and commuters to use. We are also looking at leisure trails. There's an urban housing upgrading rehabilitation program. We're thinking also about public safety and security in urban spaces. We look at plastic interception and recycling projects. And we also look at market redevelopment. And the big one, or the one that we do the most, is community upgrading program, which is formerly known as the zinc fence removal program.
Okay, wonderful. So it's a very comprehensive approach to urban renewal then.
Yes, very comprehensive. And what we do is try to find balance, because our team works on both the operational and also the policy side. So what we ensure is that we're not heavily weighted on one section or the other, but we ensure that everything works in tandem.
Okay, good. Now, in our last episode, we spoke about some of the projects that the Urban Renewal and Development Branch will be undertaking. Can you give us an update on some of those projects and how they've impacted the communities involved?
Okay, on that one, we're going to go twofold. One big project that we would have mentioned in the past is the Urban Renewal Policy. And this is an important piece of paperwork that is needed to ensure that the efforts of the government as a whole are unified in trying to enable urban renewal across the island. So we're at the latter stages of this urban renewal policy. And currently, once everything has been completed, we'll be able to synchronize the efforts of all the ministries, agencies, and departments and have one accord when going towards urban renewal across the island. Outside of this, we'll have mentioned projects of upgrading parks that we have, such as Neville Antonia Park in Portland. And this project is about modernizing the park and causing it to be more visually appealing while providing greater utility to users of Port Antonio. We also have the Jack Myers Park in Black River and the Rudolph Elder Park in St. Thomas, which are both in the procurement stages. And across the island, we have smaller park projects that we are trying to do in St. Anne, Trelawney, and St. James.
Wonderful, wonderful. So talk to us now about some of those local, the smaller projects that you've been doing and what the impact has been like.
Okay, some of the smaller projects have been encapsulated around sidewalk creation, community signage, zinc fence removal, and pocket parks. For the sidewalks, one very good one that would have done, or two very good ones, were in St. James in the areas of Anchovy and Norwood. Before, there was just dirt tracks and sometimes persons had to walk in the road. So what we have done, especially in Anchovy, was provide a length of sidewalk from the school in Anchovy to the town center, which keeps the kids out of the road. And that road, if you know where Anchovy is, and the Long Hill Main Road, has a lot of traffic and you have a lot of big corners. So by doing this, we have helped to provide safety for especially students within that space. Another project that we would have done is community signage, and one very good one was one that was done in Santa Cruz, where you have quite a few communities, but then there are not many welcome signs, so you don't necessarily know where you are. So by adding those signage now, you are able to traverse the area easily and know where you're going or where you're coming from based on the signs. Following from that, we have some local projects in Kingston. One zinc fence removal project was done on Chisholm Avenue, and there's another one that would have done in Denham Town. But these are just a few. We have a lot of those around the island. And in terms of pocket parks, we have one in Erie Castle, St. Thomas, and one more coming up in Boscobel, Galena, St. Mary. So the pocket parks, you find that sometimes there are new sites and sometimes there are sites that just need rehabilitation. So we work on both ends, and so far we've been getting good reports from these projects.
Wonderful. And that's a good segue into my next question, because it's important that we get feedback from the community. So what has the feedback been like from residents and local businesses in the areas where urban renewal projects have been implemented?
So far, the feedback has been mostly positive because you won't be able to please everyone, but the majority of the residents are loving the projects. And what we do specifically is at the end of the project, we go back into the community and we conduct beneficiary satisfaction surveys, and we try to get a wide cross sections of persons who have received direct benefits from the projects, and also persons who are maybe just passers by, just looking on. We want to see what the impact is to them. And when we ask persons the questions that we ask on our structured survey, we find that a lot of them love that a project was done in the space. Some of them want to move the project to their areas. And you also find that persons in general feel that it uplifts the space. That's a word that they use a lot. It uplifts the community, and it's more visually appealing, and that they feel like they're more residential now. That's what we hear a lot from the residents.
Nice, nice. That's some good feedback there. And as you move forward as you move forward in doing some of these projects, I know that the feedback is not always good. Sometimes there are some challenges. So, what are some of those challenges that you encounter in moving forward with some of these projects?
The big challenge is, we have the consultation processes on the ground, and persons sometimes have varying ideas. Some want to go left, some want to go right. So sometimes it's tricky to pin down everybody to say, this is the project that should be implemented because of the contending needs. We even have one project now that we're working on that may have started to go to one direction, but then the community is trying to pull another direction. So those are tricky to manage at times, but we try our best to work through it, because when we look at the overall picture, what we find as our biggest challenge is the limitations that every department or branch in government has in terms of funding and personnel. Because ideally we would want to be doing projects all over the island, in all the major towns, to make the place more hospitable for persons using these spaces, as our branch name is Urban Renewal and Development.
Okay. And as we close out this interview, environmental sustainability is a big focus today, and especially for this ministry, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. How does the branch ensure that its projects are both environmentally friendly and sustainable for future generations?
Okay, so for this, what we do, we impress especially upon our partners or stakeholders that in areas where a project is to be done, if there are trees in that space that for whatever reason need to be removed, then they must be replaced. And in general, once we do a project, we try to ensure that vegetation comes along with it from the environmental standpoint, because something that we're pushing to, especially in this financial year, is once we say do something like a zinc fence removal, we want to plant vegetation in front and behind to basically just bring some softness to that type of project. Something else that we ensure is that, especially for our pocket parks, there's a commitment to input either a maintenance plan from the residents themselves or based on the templates that we have in-house to ensure the sustainability of that space. One good example was the project in Erie Castle, where it was the women in the community mostly who were a big part of the maintenance aspect and ensuring that the project would have longevity and that future generations could also enjoy it. So what we do is verbally impress upon the residents and the stakeholders, and in other instances we literally ask the principals, the main person on the ground, the councillors, the community heads and so forth, to literally write an agreement with us to say, all right, we will ensure that this space is protected or maintained over a certain amount of time. Because if we don't push the maintenance aspect, we find that we'll do these beautiful projects and then within a few years it's gone. So environmentally and sustainability, we find that we push that hard and we ensure that those things are at the top of the list of considerations.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Sean, Community Integration Manager in the Urban Renewal and Development Branch. Thank you so very much for speaking with us today on MEGJC 101. So, in our previous episode, Marlene and Junior had quite the conversation about land ownership in St. Thomas. But today, they're getting closer as they explore the impacts of urban renewal in their community. Let's see what they are up to on this episode of Cackle.
Me say housing, water, the people them a wait. Economic growth, we can't hesitate. Infrastructure, we are elevate. Sustainability, we appreciate. In the environment, we are building nation. MEGJC, we are build this land. Crackle with joy as we move along for a better future.
I really happy to take me out to Waterfront, Junior. I really love the seaside view.
Have to think of sweet date for you, Marlene.
We a par. Nobody say we a date.
It's alright. You still come around, but Marlene, you see how the downtown looks so different now? Me remember when the place did run down, but now it looks so clean and modern.
True. I don't recognize the place. Look how the waterfront pretty, the park them neat and the building them bright up. The Urban Development Corporation UDC really put in the work.
Yeah, man. Me hear say UDC upgrade the whole area to make it more attractive for the people. Them even build up some new shop and restaurant to bring more business around here.
I like how them keep the history alive too. You see how them preserve the old buildings while adding new ones. It make the place feel alive and full of culture. And you know, say, me hear them have an upcoming project to redevelop more of these areas.
That nice, man. Marlene, I know me was thinking, if UDC can do all this for downtown, imagine the kind of change them can bring to other parts of Jamaica. This is just the start. Me did see online say them have big plans for the future. UDC not stop work. Them always a look to make the place better.
I have to check out the UDC website then to see what else them are going to fix up. And maybe we can get involved somehow. The Urban Development Corporation is committed to creating spaces that enhance the quality of life for all Jamaicans, from rejuvenating our urban centers to preserving our cultural heritage. UDC is shaping a better future for Jamaica.
Welcome to What's Happening, straight out of the MEGJC, where we stay up to the time and make you know what's going on in the ministry. From the latest updates to the freshest initiatives, we're there for give you the scoop. So make you take a seat, kick back, and get ready for hear all the things that are going on in this segment of What's Happening.
Mark your calendars for September 16 because International Ozone Day is coming up. This year's theme, Ozone for Life, is a reminder of the importance of protecting the ozone layer for future generations. The ozone layer acts as a shield protecting us from the sun's ultraviolet rays, and it's vital that we continue to preserve it. So, how can you contribute? Simple. Reduce the use of ozone-depleting substances, support eco-friendly products, and stay informed about environmental issues. Let's all work together to ensure that the ozone layer remains strong for generations to come. Now on to some exciting developments in housing. Prime Minister the Most Honorable Andrew Holness recently announced that over 300 units will be built under the new social housing program NSHP by the end of 2024. This is part of a broader effort to provide housing for vulnerable individuals across Jamaica. To date, 248 units have been completed, with another 53 in various stages of construction. The NSHP has already made a difference for people like Beverly Howell, Mr. Philando Clayton, and Mr. Everell Thomas, with over 860 individuals benefiting across 57 constituencies. And that's just the beginning. The government has plans to construct 70,000 new units island-wide, with nearly 30,000 already in progress. This is a massive step towards addressing the housing needs of our people. In other news, on August 5, 2024, the government began distributing grants to those affected by Hurricane Beryl. This is part of a $1 billion recovery plan to assist individuals who suffered a total loss or damage to their homes. The grants will be distributed based on the level of damage, with amounts ranging from $50,000 to $400,000. This initiative is a crucial part of the government's commitment to helping Jamaicans rebuild and recover after natural disasters. Now, let's talk about water. On July 18, 2024, Senator the Honorable Matthew Samuda broke ground for Phase 1 of the Mason Hall Water Supply Project in St. Mary. This $173 million phase is just the beginning of a larger $900 million investment to improve water supply in the area. The project will provide safe and reliable water to over 2,000 residents. Minister Samuda emphasized the importance of this project, urging residents to be patient during construction and to report any issues of water theft. Reliable access to water is essential, and this project is a key step in ensuring that more Jamaicans have the water they need. To stay connected and updated about the latest happenings in the ministry, be sure to follow us on our social media pages on X, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram at MEGJC_JM. That's all for what's happening. Stay tuned for more updates on how we are building a better Jamaica together.
We've reached the end of another episode of MEGJC 101. We hope you've gained valuable insights into the transformative work of the Urban Renewal and Development Branch and how they're shaping a brighter future for Jamaica's communities. However, if after this episode you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@megjc.gov.jm or drop us a message or leave a comment on our social media pages on X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at MEGJC_JM. Remember to follow, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Danny Clark. One love to the world.